my paper. This is symbolic revelations in children's musical creations. And with the research question, what is the impact of children's imagination on transforming musical phenomena into symbols or expressions of archetypes? And I will start with a few examples of children on wings, a method I developed 25 years ago. And specific to the method is the integration of visual expression, whereby children visualize musical concepts in order to learn about music theory and transform their own drawings into composition in order to learn about musical syntax. And this is fostering inter- and transdisciplinary learning. I will start with two examples by two boys, both 10 years old, about the musical concept ritenuto or slowing down, and crescendo accelerando, dus going louder and faster, and afterwards diminuendo e ritenuto, softer and slower. And you will see that their drawings have enigmatic and symbolic characters. Well, here we have ritenuto. Jeff's interpretation is a crystallization process. A water droplet which crystallizes into a snowflake is a soundless slowing down movement. When I work together with the children via their drawings, I always ask them, yeah, you can draw what you want, but think about everything around you, in the cosmos, in the world. And so this is a 10 years old boy who gives this. And the other one is from Michael. His drawing is about somebody who is running. And he explains that the horizontal lines represent the runner. And here we find various modifications to the running movement with a clearly undulating principal line. The secondary lines and figures represent the energy and setting of the runner. And here Michael captured a biological process in lines. And his drawing can be seen as a graphical score in which reference is made to time and space. Then, two compositions by Tara, 10 years old. The first composition is by transforming a drawing. And the second composition, we will see how she transferred ideas from the initial process where she was abstracting from her drawing. And she made the composition on her own, creating her own game rules to be able to compose. And again, you will see enigmatic and symbolic character. This is the first. It is a very simple, very small example so that it's very clear what I would like to say, because I have very complex examples. And this is just in the beginning when the children learn to compose by transforming their drawings. I documented the whole project over 10 years. For example, this child was 10 years old, but when she was 20, she composed big pieces. So here it's about the car is coming up to the traffic light shouts, the car is to stop, and the car stops suddenly. Tara wants the car to be driving along quite slowly and looks for a suitable motive. And in answer to my question as how the traffic light shouts, she imitates the traffic light's voice, so that's personification. Consider the sounds and gets the traffic light to call every 3 bars. That was her first idea. So she is imitating movement and language. When I ask if she can get the car approach the traffic light, she looks for a way of doing this and gets rid of a few bars from the car motif, so that the light shouts after 3, after 2, and after 1 bar. So by doing this, she is making time visible and audible. And in her second, we can listen to this. It's It's another language than the normal small pieces for children. Then, her second composition, after she composed this traffic vessel, she made her own game rules, the dough game. The dough may never be played. The boys are on one side, the girls on the other. The ordinary dough, she means the central dough, is the line that they are not allowed to touch or cross. The children try to get closer and closer to it until the highest and the lowest, the leaders, pull them back. That are the game rules. On the keyboard, she marks off a play area between two octaves, with middle C as a dividing line. So it's a geometrical approach. And using motor symmetry, she is imitating the movement of the boys and the girls. So she lets the children move in such a way that a structure with contrapuntal characteristics appears. Contrapuntal characteristics we have in the green circle, the motive, and then we have in the left hand the inversion. And then the green circles thereafter, they are alternating. So it is like a stretto movement. And she also is using different ways of approaching this first defiantly, then with little steps, then more sneakily, and finally boldly. And by lengthening and shortening the motifs, she made time visible and audible. Yeah, this doesn't work, but I think it's clear. It doesn't work to play it. Or it should be a surprise. No. So when we compare the two compositions, Tara has abstracted from the transformation process, both at the level of the interaction with me, as well as at the level of the composing itself. She made up her own game rules in order to be able to compose, and in this sense made the interaction with me a necessity. She has transposed data from the physical image, movement, language, time, to the virtual image. And she has done this in a more sophisticated way. And we thus observe an evolution in the composition from simple, repetitive, and visual to complex, differentiated, and abstract. In both compositions, the form is inherent to the story, and both stories have been crystallized to the smallest possible musical form. And enigma is tonality. We should think, oh, it's on the white keys from do till do. It's written in C major. It has nothing to do with tonality. She just needed a flat playing field on the white keys. So thus it's rather the result of the transformation of non-musical ideas. How symbols and archetypes come to life in creative fantasy. Yeah, when my daughter was 4 years old, she gave me a drawing and said, Mama, an egg. I myself saw budding life in the womb. And here we have a cosmic egg by Hildegard von Bingen, German mystica from the Middle Ages, who also composed music. This egg is a visualization of one of her visions about the universe that points to the omnipotent and incomprehensible God. And Lucas refers to creation myths where the egg is seen as carrier of the universe waiting to be hatched. And for Jung, sees the egg as a philosophical symbol referring to the spiritual, inner, and complete human being. And then Jung emphasizes that the production of archetypes by children is very important to understanding the human mind, since children do not have direct access to specific traditions. So Sarah's egg is a very beautiful example of it. And another interesting example is this drawing by a young child. For Jung, the representation of the psychic nucleus, the inner center of the self. Archetypes in music. Björk's first quest for spontaneous singing shows how children, when provoking one another during play, generated a universal formula as a symbolic representation of teasing. But different are memes. which are mental information patterns that can be copied from one individual memory to another. Names are inherited patterns resulting from experimentation within the conventions of Western tonality and functional harmony. One of the most common names are closing cadences. These are formulaic endings whose operation is analogous to the closing formulas of fairy tales and stories, like them lived happy ever after, or all's well that ends well. So, and we have the cadence, bum, 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 and it's done. So, what is the impact of children's imagination on transforming musical phenomena into symbols or expressions of archetypes? We have two compositions. Music Box by Katrien 12 and Tonality by Jeda 10. Katrien's story. There is a music box in the attic which comes to life. It drags itself out from under the dust so that it can play until it stops. Katrien represents the music box with a simple melodic cell, which is a minor second, which she ornaments. You can see it. And there are some, she is for the, to represent the box dragging itself out of the dust, she looks for dissonances. And we have here the triton interval, which is a sharp one, and we have bitonal aspects in the sounds. She lets the dissonances dissolve into a perfect fit here in bar line, in the red circle. Okay, as like so rare, and then she transposes the beginning of the motif. But with this transposition, we have a cadence. And then she's looking for a triad. And then she says, now the box can begin to play. But what is happening here? So in saying, now the box can begin to play, she made both the measured triad and the tonal element a symbol for the coming to life of the music box. Here's the tonality is symbolized. And then she already used an Alberti bass, an accompaniment pattern like we had a lot in Mozart. So I encourage her to develop the movement further, and the more rhythm, the more life. And Jung regards rhythm as an important transformer of psychic energy, referring to the music of so-called primitive people. And here we have the music. Now, the concept bitonality, the combination of two tonal centers. There's a first example is by Jeda, who abstracted from the music with a bitonal aspect, and in the second, she's abstracting from the concept. I asked Jeda to study a little piece, it's a little dance here, and with some bitonal aspects in the sound. She experienced the soundscape as strange. So I asked her to draw the dancers who could go with such music. And she was not very happy to study that piece. But after drawing the dancers, She accepted it, she practiced it, yeah. So, the bitonal dance became meaningful for her as she managed to associate the strange landscape with her fabulous creatures, because also the auditory was complemented to the visual. And when I explained her the concept by tonality and by understanding it, by playing the piece, we can see her symbolization. Her symbolization here could refer to the phenomenon of no, first I have to tell, she interpreted the combination of two tonalities as the combination of two identities, fitting together because of the rhythm, because they are working together. But her symbolization could refer to the phenomenon of subpersonalities. This phenomenon stands for the presence of different energies in one person, namely energies with a separate style and their own values, or also for pathological phenomena such as bipolarity or schizophrenia. And that could learn about these things. And then, in mythology and iconography, we find Cyclops, the giants with one eye, Trinacria. We have it on the flag, the symbol on the flag of Sicilia. And the three legs referring to the triangular shape of the island and the three capes are here told how man, how bird, Egyptian god of the underworld, just the souls of the dead, or the centaur, half man, half horse, hermaphrodite, Shiva with 4 arms. There's a Hindu god responsible for destruction and recreation of the universe. So, conclusion. This study demonstrates the ability of children to think symbolically, act archetypically, or act in such a way that archetypes are, in addition to visibly, also orally, musically articulated. And it demonstrates their ability to act in a self-organizing and problem-solving way. Very important is that children are invited to use their imagination. This allows them to access latent experiences and knowledge and to access the deeper and universal dimension of music, just as we can access a deeper and universal dimension of our existence through our spontaneous imagining. More research is needed to deepen our knowledge of musical symbolism and build a vocabulary related to the perception of auditory archetypal phenomena. The input of children is of paramount importance. Jung sheds light on the archetypal imagining of children and indicates that childhood dreams must be taken seriously and studied. And this study indicates that children, more than transforming archetypal images, also represent auditory archetypes and that their composition should be taken seriously and studied. Thank you, and questions? No questions?
I'm curious about the knowledge that the students that you show with their composition, they had some knowledge of they had to have some musical knowledge. They've been taught some things. What do you think about someone who may be younger, who hasn't learned all the notation and, I mean, what do you think about someone composing who's very young? And it's just one of their first experiences on piano.
Yeah, I gave experimentation lessons in this way to very young children, 3 years old, and I did it for 3 years to document it. Yeah, recorded everything, and I let them make a drawing. It was just some abstract like this, and then I start. Then, of course, it's at the piano, and then I can experiment with clusters, with big movements, with the whole body, and then we make like a graphical score. And they understand it because they know what they are doing and they can recognize the patterns in the drawings, in the things. So that is the start. Yeah? And when they learn, when they are a little bit older, then I make a combination with this, from this graphical score, we integrate little by little the traditional semblance.
It's a way to teach you.
Yes, and it takes sometimes a long time, eh? Because this method, I have, I started with the method 25 years ago, and I used it for more than 20 years with a lot of examples for the long traject and the compositions they made when they are 18 or 20, long compositions, and really it's not just like improvising, it's engraved in their memory too. And I let also children compose together. So, and that's very interesting to see, but that's another paper. So this interaction and how they learn from each other, on social, psychological, on different levels. Another thing is that I work in the same way with adults. So one example is, for example, I had 2 engineers in my class, and I let them compose by they were using engineering thinking, and I had to discover what they were doing. So I talked a lot with them. I recorded it. I was studied in depth. Yeah, but that's, of course, it are things, they are innovative because I submitted the paper, this one with the engineering and the peer reviewers. There were 2, and the one said, this has nothing to do with music. And this one, I submitted it in journal for psychoanalysis in Jungian way. And then, well, I got feedback. It's very interesting and great, but because of a lack of medical data, so it's yeah, it's not easy. But I see how adults, I did the same with my students at the conservatory. And a lot of students make their master thesis about the method because they could do their stages in my classroom. They saw what was happening. And I often discovered that when I took some childhood composition and I gave it to my students to analyze it, that they were thinking from their traditional theoretical education. They did not understand it. They, for example, when a child had something made his children make their own scale, they make their own scale, and they are doing this and this and this, and nothing else because it's a geometrical approach or something else in their head or an algorithm. And when I analyze it with my students, that this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this has to be this, and they corrected everything, and the original idea was completely. So, yeah, it's but very important is that next to the learning to play the piano in a very good and high level, they are developing this musical thinking, reading, thinking in music, not only performing the score, but learn to think in music like we learn to think in mathematics or in language. And another important thing is that a lot of children, we need a redefinition of what is musical talent, because a lot of children, they start and they stop. And I had a child that was composing, and it was like, what is this? It sounds like nonsense. But I gave him a microphone. Please tell me, because I don't understand you. Please tell me. And at home, I was analyzing, and again, and then I saw that he was using a complex algorithm. And he was very good in mathematics. So we have to think about what is musicality. Yeah.
I was just reading just 5 minutes ago about how Paul McCartney and George Harrison went to the same school in Liverpool. Neither one of them can read music. John Lennon couldn't read music, but they could play. And that their music teacher in their school didn't recognize their talent. They would have to leave. They were leaving after school and going across and playing guitar with John Lennon, and their music teacher had two of the Beatles in his classroom and didn't even know.
What is musicality, right?
Yeah, what is musicality? Yeah.
Okay. I think.
Thank you.